good day, and welcome to the Live at the Waterhole show. I'm Seth Winterboer, and I'm going to be your naturalist for the next couple of hours, and I really cannot wait. We've opened up on the Africam Oldonyo camera up in Kenya, and it looks like a glorious day there indeed. Very similar day to where I'm sitting right now, which is in South Africa, close to the world famous Kruger National Park. Slight chilly breeze where I am, a little bit overcast, but very typical of the season. And true to form, Albania has provided us with an opening shot. This camera really never fails to deliver, to be honest with you. These are two bull elephant, and then we have a fringe-eared oryx coming out of the bush from the side. These oryx are limited to this particular area of Africa. They don't occur anywhere else, and so you're seeing something quite special there. I've actually had such a treat this morning. I've been watching a friend of mine's video production from a trip he recently did up into Zimbabwe and the Rangi National Park. And I've already been watching a lot of animals this morning, and not a homage to elephant, to be honest with you. But why don't we go and have a look at a summary of what the weather is looking like all over the place where we have cameras today. As you can see from that brief summary, we're heading it into the upper 90s today, and the sort of middle to low 30s from a centigrade Fahrenheit point of view over most of the locations today, with sunrise having arrived way before 6 o'clock this morning. Um, it's been light for a few hours. Where I am now, it's 9:33 in the morning, and so the sun has been up for a good 4 hours. Well, it's been light for a good 4.5 hours already. This oryx seems to be a little bit skittish. It's unlike them to be skittish. Usually they're either timid or very bold. They they're not really indecisive. What is interesting is I haven't been on camera for over a week now, and I can definitely see that the bush has thinned out in the background up in Kenya. It is their dry season, similar to how it is in South Africa and in Etosha. Um, and so it is totally expected that the bush is browning up, well, graying up actually. The brown has already disappeared. And that the last few trees that are holding onto their green are sort of sticking out like islands, and that's what we're busy seeing at the moment. You can expect rain in about 6 weeks or so. Moda, you have sent in the first comment for the day, and you said you've recently discovered WildEarth and you can't get enough. Goodness me, Moda. Well, firstly, I want to say welcome and welcome aboard. Welcome to the family. And secondly, I want to say thank you very much for sending in your comment. And for those of you who are out there wanting to know how Moda sent in your comment, or sent in her comment, you are welcome to just go and register on the WildEarth website. And then you'll be able to ask questions and send in your comments. This is a live show, and obviously, as Moda's question or comment there suggested, it is interactive. And I'd love to hear from you through the course of the show. And there's no question that can be dull. There's we're all here to learn from one another. I, for one, love hearing from everybody. And in fact, the only reason why I know that that's a fringe-eared oryx is from one of the viewers who kindly updated us. The fact that this is a species of oryx that only occurs up here. Kenya is 5,000 kilometers away from where I'm sitting at the moment, and very close to the equator. This camera is very close to the equator, and I'm sitting at about 22 degrees south, so a long way away. Trisha, all the way from New Zealand, thank you very, very much. You just said that it's great to have me back on Live at the Waterhole. It is really amazing being back, to be honest with you. I've looked forward to today immensely. It's been a bit of a rough couple of weeks for me from a health perspective, but back on track now and really enjoying this. There we're watching this fringed oryx finally build up the courage to come and have a drink amongst these giants. Talking about giants, the elephant in this particular area of the world are some of the largest tusked elephant that we find in the world. They've got a whole lot of super tuskers that occur not just in this particular location. Oldonyo is massive. It's a 110,000 hectare, so 220,000 acre wildlife sanctuary right up close to the Amboseli National Park, which is another enormous, massive wildlife sanctuary, and on a game corridor which joins Tsavo, which is another incredibly massive wildlife sanctuary. So, this area of Kenya is well known for its large tracts of protected land, and is home to a very large selection of big tusked bulls.
Do you believe in a world where rhinos can thrive? Join WildEarth and our special guest Aaron Strawn on the 23rd of September for a fireside chat in commemoration of World Rhino Day. Come along and get to know Aaron's rhinos and tune in to some interesting conversations about creating a secure and fruitful environment for our precious rhinos. WildEarth, it's in your nature.
For those of you with a relatively sharp eye, you'd notice in the foreground, sort of just left of center, there was a female Obama lizard. It's just skittered across the rocks. There you go. You can see her there. Incredibly well camouflaged. It's just testimony to how magnificent these cameras are, actually. The fact that we not only have a sort of low down angle up at the elephant looking at the cam, we can also see little critters that are moving around as well. Can is relatively full today, which is a good thing. It means that there's lots of water for everything that might come down. Seems like it's going to be a fairly hot day, and so I would imagine that through the course of the show, we're actually going to be seeing an increase in animals. Um, and I, for one, am looking forward to that. This particular pan has a tendency to sort of reset itself every 25 minutes or so. And by that, I mean for a different set or mix of animal to come in every now and again. So if you are having this on in the background, just keep a, I don't know, subconscious eye on the fact that we can expect a different mix of things around these cameras sort of every 25 to 30 minutes. Well, at least that was what it was 10 days ago. Right, but one of the most important things about this particular show is that we have many cameras set all over South, East, and even West Africa. And one of the other cameras, Naledi, has got some guests at it. So let's go and have a look at what they are. And here we've got some warthog. Now we've come roughly 5,000 kilometers south, crossed over a few different countries, but we've moved from Kenya to South Africa. And we're at Africam's Naledi Dam cam. And we are watching a mother and baby warthog feast on some grass that is growing at the edge of this pan. Now, about 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago now, I've got a feeling that we watched the same mother and baby feasting on this grass. She is a very smart mom. There is not going to be green grass anywhere else. And having assessed the fact that there's no crocodiles in this particular pan, or at least taken the risk that there won't be crocodiles, her and her baby have got a food source that is uncontested. Lebo, you've just sent in a comment, um, and you've just said that this is your favorite WildEarth program. I must agree with you, Lebo. I quite enjoy the fact that um, we have these cameras all over the place, which gives us a nice tapestry of choice and over very, very diverse habitats. It's not always apparent from a static camera how diverse the habitats are that we can move through, and how profoundly broad the reach of this particular program is. But suffice it to say, and I've traveled Africa a lot, that we've got some incredible cameras in some incredible locations, unrivaled, in fact. And then we are not only is that a key, but obviously another key is the fact that we don't have any influence over the animals we're watching whatsoever. They're not reacting to a vehicle being close by or people standing there or anything. And so we're able to observe these animals doing what they would be doing naturally. And we're doing it rather intimately. We can zoom in and we can pan left and right and we can watch these animals just go about their day. And for me, that is the epitome of what I try and accomplish as a field guide, uh, and try and give people the most intimate experience you can without changing the behavior of the animal that you're watching. And so there you go. So we come in. The warthog are definitely not aquatic, so they're not like hippo, for instance. This particular warthog and her baby have really not uniquely, because other warthog will do the same thing, um, but she really does have a wonderful food source here that is not being contested with anyone else. So I think she's done an incredible job. She's most likely pregnant. She will be. She's an adult female. She would have been covered by a male at the beginning of our winter, which now 2 months ago. She has another month and a half, 2 months left of her pregnancy, and then she'll be dropping her babies sort of mid-November ish, plus minus a week or two, and then we'll start to see a new set of around the beginning of December, end of November, beginning of December. It all just depends on when she was covered, really. But just look at how wonderful she looks. She just good weight on her. Warthog are generally grass eaters. They're actually omnivorous, but mainly grass. And while most other warthog everywhere else look skinny and rather sad, she and her baby are looking plump and sleek. Really wonderful. I love those beards that they got on the side of their face. Gosh, we're getting viewers everywhere today. So, Sajid, you have just Sajidullah. You just said good morning from the Czech Republic. Goodness me, that is well. Firstly, good morning to you. Something's come in and given them a fright. So, firstly, Sajidullah, good morning to you, and then how's things today in the Czech Republic? I'm hopeful that everything is going well. So now, this female is not, she's taking a big risk in two ways. The first is that she's assuming that there's no crocodiles. So you can never know in this particular area of Africa, it's close to the Kruger National Park. We wouldn't know those habitats of crocodiles. It's just a precaution that us as humans have evolved over countless encounters. Um, And so what she's doing is she's assuming that there's no crocodile here. She wouldn't know. It's every day she comes down and feeds on the grass, um, or every couple of days she comes down and feeds on the grass. There's no attempt on her life from the water, and so it's just cementing the fact that there isn't a crocodile. The crocodiles can and do walk quite long distances at this time of the year as water bodies that they are living in dry up. And so she's taking a chance. There's a risk there at any time that there could be a crocodile that comes and lives here. And then, secondly, as food sources dwindle in the bush, as we go into October, which is sort of hell month, um, what animals will start doing is prioritizing just hydration and conserving energy. And often, what happens is predators start capitalizing on that and set up shop, so to say, right next to water holes. And so it's not uncommon for us to find lion and leopard frequenting water holes more regularly as we go into and through October. And so, although every time she comes down here, nothing happens, and that makes her feel more confident, um, it's definitely a risk that she's taking. And so, I really hope that her continued luck holds out. He deserves it. I think he's taken a good risk. He deserves every success. It's been fairly cold the last couple. Well, I mean, I say fairly cold from an African standard. It's been fairly cold the last couple of days. I'll tell you now what the weather is like in Bululi. We're in the mid 20s at the moment at 10 to 10 in the morning, sort of high 70s from a Fahrenheit point of view. And we've got a slight breeze blowing, nothing, nothing too serious. But over the weekend, very close to where this Africam Naledi Dam Cam is, we had a devastating fire and a number of homes were actually burnt down. I think it was Saturday night, I think. I can't even remember, but it was just recently. And it was from a bushfire, and we have bushfires this time of the year. The bush is really super dry, and the winds are starting to pick up as the seasons are changing and the massive weather patterns are moving across the country. Or and a bushfire, which is a completely natural and normal thing, ended up blowing into a small residential estate on the borders of the Kruger Park, about 40 kilometers or so from where this camera is, and burnt a whole bunch of houses down, unfortunately.
Do you know what it takes to protect and empower rhinos? On the 22nd of September, WildEarth is hosting a fireside chat in celebration of World Rhino Day. A special guest from Rhino Revolution will join us as we pay tribute to these extraordinary creatures and talk all things rhino, from horn trimming to rewilding. Don't miss out on the fun. WildEarth, it's in your nature.
Been pretty inseparable since the youngster was born. And what will happen in the next couple of weeks is Mom will have the next litter. Because this is a female baby, she will stick around and sort of co parent. It's not uncommon to find mommy warthog, that's the one on the left hand side, with multiple generations of babies. Um, what usually happens though, as soon as the male warthog reach adolescence, they move off. And it's because they start reacting to their mom's hormonal changes when she comes into season annually. So she'll just have one set of babies per year. And as soon as the adolescent warthogs male warthog at least, start to react to their mom's hormones, the not only do their moms chase them away, but the bull warthogs, which will be mom suitors, will also not tolerate the youngsters around. So what they do is for a couple of years, these young males move around. They get kicked around from sounder to sounder, and eventually are far enough away from mom that when they can fight for a female's attentions, it is not with mom or sister. So that's how it works. I'm amazed at the fact that these warthog can put their noses so deep under the water. They're not blowing any bubbles out of anything. We don't usually give animals much credit for being adaptable. We usually case them as having very similar characteristics and behavioral traits. And so when one exhibits a slightly different behavior, we think it's weird and cool. But in fact, I think it's just our own perceptions rather than the reality. These warthog do form a very important part of the food chain. They're by no means an easy prey item to catch. The males can get upwards of 100 kilograms, which is 200 pounds, massive animals. And really only adult male leopard, old big adult male leopard, and lion and packs of wild dog are really what take them down. These females, being slightly smaller, do fall victim to any number of additional predators. So, female and adolescent leopard, lone lone lioness or single lions and lionesses, small packs of wild dog, even some eagles. I've been lucky enough over my years to witness a couple of times when large eagles, like martial eagle, have taken out smaller warthog than this, but definitely still being taken them out. And of course, even python, which are relatively common in water bodies like this. Large python will take out a warthog, the one on the right hand side, very easily. The African rock python being the largest snake that we find in this particular area. It's not venomous, as it doesn't have any poison fangs, and is a constrictor. So these large snakes will will have there'll be usually one big large snake in a water body like this, usually, and what they'll do is bite onto a prey and then wrap themselves around the prey. Um, you may have seen this done in any number of snakes that are constricted. And then they squeeze and squeeze and squeeze and squeeze until it becomes impossible to breathe. It becomes impossible for their prey to breathe, and they pass out and pass on before being swallowed head first, whole. And it'll just take one little warthog like this to feed a snake for a whole year. So obviously, a very effective way of conserving energy. To give you an idea of how big these warthog are, the one on the right is probably the same size as a Staffordshire Terrier, with the one on the left, the mom, being slightly bigger than that. All right, let's give this waterhole time to reset and for this mom and baby to decide what they're going to be doing, and head over to Jamala to go and see what is up and around there. Goodness me, obviously a whole herd of elephant. We're in a completely different area of South Africa at the moment. So we've moved, I don't know, roughly 800 kilometers or so, 900 kilometers west of where we were at Naledi. And we're now at Tumala in Madikwe Game Reserve. Madikwe Game Reserve is a very large, sort of in the top five of the game reserves in South Africa, and home to a very healthy population of elephant. And what we're having a look at here is a breeding herd of African savanna elephant. And I say breeding herd because of the fact that there's youngsters and females. You may hear some noise in the background, and that's because Jamala Camp was burnt down recently and is being rebuilt. And so there might be a slight noise intrusion every now and again, but you'd excuse that. And as one of our viewers has just commented now, Ryan from Devon, um, you've you just communicated that what we can see in a couple of seconds would have taken our finest explorers decades, if not years, to achieve earlier on. And that's the marvel of technology. And so I 100% agree with you, Devon. I mean, the fact that we, in the blink of an eye, traveled 800 or 900 kilometers after having traveled 5,000 kilometers south when we started the show is just testimony to that, and wonderful. The slightly reddish color that you see on these elephant is due to the soil here in Madikwe. There's a variety of different soil types that you find, and these ellies would take on the color of the soil where they have been in for the last couple of days, because not only do they dust bathe themselves frequently, but they also cover themselves in mud at the different water holes. And as the water dries, the sediment that covers their skin obviously takes on the color of its parent rock. And you can see that all of these ellies have this slight sort of reddish tinge. Saw that elephant kick his brother or sister. Actually, surprisingly agile with their feet. You know, they look clumsy because they're so big and they move stiffly. But in fact, they can kick in a variety of different directions and surprisingly as well. Such a cool sighting. Fairly large herd of elephant actually in the Kruger, which is where we've just come from Naledi. Usually the herd sizes are there sort of 6 to 12 elephant, and here we have 16 or 17 elephant. Lebo, you just sent in another comment saying that this is your favorite WildEarth program. I must agree with you there. I see so many things here. And of course, one of the things that we're seeing at the moment, which is noticeable for those of you with a sharp eye, is that little elephant just left of center has got a stubby tail. The one that's sort of drinking. There you go. The one that's just waving around from side to side. You'll notice that the tail is a stump and lacks the characteristic club shape and tuft of hair on the bottom. And it the tail could have been damaged in any number of ways. And what was most likely the cause is another elephant biting it off. Um, Often, what happens is they argue and they tussle with one another, and they will bite each other, specifically the tails. But it could also have been bitten off by a lion. It could have been bitten off by a hyena. It could have been damaged by ticks in a way. Often they get damaged by fire. She doesn't look like she was burnt. And so I don't think that it was fire in this particular case, but fire can hurt elephant as well. But it has left that elephant with a very characteristic stumpy tail. And as she gets older and her tusks take on their own particular shape and her ears get, their particular character, she will then develop a personality, for lack of a better word. And will become quite recognizable. You see that elephant left of center, that big female, she's resting her trunk on the ground, quite relaxed. They're sort of long and skinny, and they rest the end on the ground. They also fold their trunk over their tusk if they've got tusks that can sort of. If you have a look right of center, there's an ellie drinking there, and just left of him or her, there's an elephant resting its trunk on its tusks, sort of folded under. So here we have the two different ways of a relaxed elephant.
WildEarth is home to Africa's endangered unicorn. We aim to inspire the protection of our rhinos by connecting people to them.
I am here with a beautiful female rhino and her calf.
Join our naturalists as we track our favorite rhinos on safari.
Hello, big boy.
Watch it live and join the rush this Rhino Day with WildEarth.
And there we can see the rest of the herd of blue wildebeest having arrived on the scene. Pretty typical of this area, having a number of wildebeest together. They don't form the massive herds like you get up in East Africa's migration, the Serengeti ecosystem, where you have just over a million wildebeest making their annual pilgrimage between the southern plains and Dutu area and the Masai Mara and back again. These wildebeest are sedentary, so they live in this area. They don't migrate anywhere. And that's a pretty typical herd of blue wildebeest. There's a baboon on the left-hand side. He's coming down. Seems like he's also just on his own, which is not uncommon for a male baboon. This camera is relatively close to Jamala. There you can see him moving. Often baboons will, particularly male baboons, will set up sort of shop in camps. They're very opportunistic. It wouldn't surprise me if he made a nuisance of himself in the camp from time to time. He's having a very cautious drink with an impala ram looking on. There you go. The wonderful cameras that can zoom. So this is the Chakma baboon. Up in Kenya, we'll get the olive baboon. Two very different baboons. These baboons only occur in sort of South Africa. He's got something wrong with his leg, it looks like. Yeah, he's been injured on his leg. Not uncommon for male baboon to be injured. They attack one another viciously. Male baboon, there'll be one dominant male in in a troop, but that particular sort of dominance will be short lived and temporary, and will also vacillate. So he will one day be dominant, the next day not, and then it'll change. And it all depends on the literally the politics of the day. And male baboon fight and slash at each other, really long, viciously shaped canines. And this one looks like he was tackled and bitten in his back left leg. I just noticed that as he got up, there was a slight hobble, and that might explain why he's on his own. He's just healing up close to the camp where he'll be able to sleep inside the lodge, probably in one of the tall trees in the camp, and be safe there. And then make a test of himself around the dustbin areas, being very opportunistic. They will make use of any sort of weakness that the camp hands in terms of food storage and waste disposal. See, it even looks like he feels sorry for himself. Let's see what he looks like when he walks. Too bad. For another drink. It's tough to say with certainty as to whether it's a new wound or an old one. I'm just see what he looks. See, not quite walking normal. Got that slight sort of sideways limp and an exaggerated step. This is wild Africa, of course, and there's needs to be attrition, survival of the fittest. And so, unless that injury was actually caused by direct human intervention, nothing much will be done to help his case. Oh, there's another baboon. Okay, so he is with his troop, just on the outskirts. Okay, so there's the rest of the baboon troop there. Not quite as dire as I thought it was. Still a sizable male, and I'm still convinced that he's got an injury. Whether or not it's a fresh injury or an older injury, I don't know, but I'm convinced he's got a slight limp. Looks like he was bitten across the small of his back. But yeah, we can have a look at the rest of this troop. Made up here mainly of females. There he comes again. See, very skinny in his waist. This troop would be made up mainly of females and their babies. Shame, it is a tough time of the year for them. There's not much in terms of food around. They're also omnivorous. They'd eat anything from insects through to flowers, grass, and rhizomes, seeds, carrion, and not uncommon for them to tackle things like baby impala and young warthog. Look at that baby riding mom's back. Joanna, you just sent in a comment. So, firstly, hello. And then you said nature has a way of healing its animals, and you are so right. They are tough, these guys. The types of injuries that I've watched animals recover from is nothing short of astounding. And this time of the year, as water holes are drying up, see, there goes that male with his sore leg. You can see that he's not walking nice on it. If you correspond the way he's walking with other baboons, you'll see what I'm talking about. I can't see any fresh blood, and so it's most likely an older injury. Still a big boy though. Goodness. Big baby hanging underneath mom's stomach. It's not uncommon for baboons to, at this time of the year at least anyway, to dig out freshwater mussels that occur in these drying up pans. Um, there's actually quite a number of mollusks. The biomass of mollusks can actually be tremendous. It's just below the mud. Look at that little baby that came down. And you'll sometimes see these baboons digging around for these mussels, wiping them clean, biting them open, and eating them. Also dig out water lily roots. But really, they're just waiting for the rains to fall and for the first flush of green to happen. Biding their times, conserving energy in the process. Look at that one there in the background, that youngster submitting to being cleaned by mommy, auntie, or a sister. Very cool. Well done, the cameraman. It's not easy to control these webcams remotely. You'll notice that there's a slight shake. You'd forgive that. When you're at full zoom with these cameras and the wind is blowing like it is today, it does set up a bit of a resonance, and so you do get a little bit of a shake. But frankly, I'm sure we can deal with that because of the fact that we're having these pictures brought to us from these incredible wilderness areas all over Africa. And so it's a little bit of a shake every now and again. There's this youngster balancing on his branch. Whoop, almost fell off. What are you going to do? Just made it to the next branch. Always something going on at baboons, especially the youngsters. Look at that little one climbing his stump there in the background. Tiniest one just hanging on to his mom. She doesn't want to help him at all. He must walk a bit. Look at that one being groomed there in the back. There's two little ones having a game with each other now on that stump. A game of hide and go seek. Lots of baboons all over the place.
Get ready for your daily dose of African wildlife magic. Be enchanted by the intimate moments shared by the animals as they drink, play, and interact in their natural habitat. With our daily wildlife videos, you'll experience the thrill of safari adventures without ever having to leave your seat. Let the wild adventure unfold right before your eyes. Africam, always live, always wild.
Just left with young baboons in the foreground. They won't stick around for too long. They're going to follow their moms. Looks like this baboon troop is moving away from the dam for the most case. There's two wrestling for the baby there in the background. One more auntie. They've come to have their drink and will now move off feeding for the rest of the day. They'll spend most of the day feeding before roosting in trees at night time. They have a couple of roosts in their area that they frequently use, and they sleep off the ground in these big trees at night time. Almost forgotten about the massive herd of elephant that we have. And oh, we've been joined by some zebra now as well. What may very well be the case at the moment is that we have two herds of elephant at this particular waterhole. We've got the one on the left and the one on the right, which should fit with the sort of average herd size of between 6 and 12 individuals per herd, all led by a matriarch. And so, looking at this particular herd, we have 9 elephant, and the oldest elephant would be the one either facing us on the left of center or the one standing side on just behind that with no tusks. They would definitely be related, mother daughter, not sisters. The rest of the babies will sort of be their offspring and their offspring's offspring, so grandchildren, daughters and sons. Joined by some plain zebra and some impala. The zebra being fairly obvious, and the impala being the red tiny antelope. For those of you who are just joining the show and are still busy learning your African animals, don't despair. It does take a bit of time, but you'll pick up the knack of it. Yeah, you can see what we were talking about that just a little bit earlier. That female there dumping a trunk full of sand onto her back in an effort to provide an insulating layer. Tiger Timmy, yep, you 100% right. These elephants do look well coated in dirt, and it is a great view from this camera, to be honest with you. It's so cool we can zoom in and zoom out and pan left and right to see the full extent of the action going on around this pan. So yeah, that elephant has just picked up a trunk of rather greyish dirt and dumped it onto the top of her head and back. But you can see that the rest of the herd is a fairly reddish color, and that would be from where they spent the last couple of days. They will wander quite far. And Madikwe does have a very interesting geology, which gives rise to different colored soils in different parts of the park. And so, where these elephants have traveled from, there must have been lots of this reddish colored soil. Where they are now, it's this grayish sand. You can see that for some reason or another, they just decide that now is the time to move on. They've all had a drink. It's the matriarch that decides, and she decided that they need to move from where they were to where they are now. I don't know if they're waiting for their turn at the spout. Elephant love drinking clean water where they can, and the freshest water enters this pan in an outlet just to the left, sort of where these elephants are clustered around. So let's see what happens here. Let's see who has the dominance. So there's one elephant here with her one tusk. She's the matriarch, so that answers the question on who the leader of the pack is, and you can see that she's leading her family into this herd of elephant who are now making way for her. So she holds a higher seniority, and what she's done is she's just said, "Okay, you've had enough time. The freshwater, it's my turn, and move on." These other elephant don't look too happy about it, but what are they going to do? She's so healthy, this matriarch on the left. See her big, thick body, full mammary gland. She's obviously still suckling her baby. Mammary glands situated between the front legs. Some smells on the breeze. This is not the first elephant who's been standing in that sort of center position, who've lifted their trunk questing for scent. There's obviously something on the breeze that's coming from a particular spot, and it's just in that place that you're picking up the smell. Gosh, the definition in these cameras is so great. There you can see that big female on the left, how full of milk she is. Great health for this time of the year. Lucky baby. Lots of milk. Milk being quite an expensive thing from a metabolism to produce. From a metabolic point of view, milk is very heavy on a female's body to produce. And so this time of the year where food sources are limited, especially for big animals like elephant, having a female elephant that looks this good and having so much milk is a great sign. She's obviously very healthy. This youngster just scratching behind his ear. They're not flapping their ears too much, which means it's not that hot yet. You see exactly what the temperature is in Madikwe now. Yeah, thought so. It's in the low 20s actually. So one of the cooler areas that we have our cameras today. And in spite of it being on the fringe of the bushveld and the desert biomes, there's obviously a weather system that is covering this particular part of Africa today that has reduced the temperatures, which is nice. 22 degrees is very comfortable, sort of 70 in the high 70s. I mean that these ellies have got much more activity. The length of the day that they can stay active for and look for food in is extended.
Those sounds just go straight through you.
This little young elephant has just decided that he's going to have a lie down. It is now disturbed by mom walking away. Interestingly, we get to see whether or not they are making a move on the fresh water or they're making a move away from the water. No, they're all making a move away from the water, so that is one herd of elephant. Now back to food. Or they might be going for a mud bath. We'll see. There's a fairly well developed mud pool there in front of the sort of middle part of the elephant. And often we see these elephant having a mud bath, covering themselves with mud. That youngster playing over olive beans. Such a great thing to see around this waterhole. It's the beauty of these webcams is that we can spend extended periods of time looking at these animals doing what they would be doing naturally, whether we were there or not. And it gives us a great glimpse into the sort of patience and pace of life that these animals live. It provides a moment for reflection always. I find elephant do provide these moments of clarity and it is interesting to consider what you keep yourself busy with every single day and why. So that youngster on the right just flopped over onto his side. Elephants sleep on their side just like that. Even the biggest. All right. The beauty of what we have is that we've got many of these cameras all over the place. So why don't we go and have a look at what's happening at Tau? So we're still in Madekwe Game Reserve. We're a couple of kilometers away from where we were. This is now Africam's Tau cam and a great place to look at a variety of different birds. This particular plan is a very healthy bird life. And so obviously that big bird that's just going out of screen sort of mid left was a spur-winged goose, the largest of the geese in South Africa. Very large animal. Then just left of center, we've got a black-winged stilt. It's a black and white wading bird with a slightly upcurved beak. We've got a duck of sorts on the left-hand side. Tough to see exactly what it is. It's having a sleep. We did see shell duck here the other day, which is quite nice. It's my favorite group of birds. Here we have an Egyptian goose. Sitting down. Left of that are some black lapwing. There's a wildebeest screen. And then looks like a terrible side. sorry, on the right hand side, close to that stump, sort of right lower corner of the screen. Any number of other birds winging their way in and through the screen, everything from swallows and swifts to doves and waxbills. Tough to get a fix on any one of them. This particular pan is also home to 5 crocodiles, and they're also around here somewhere. They're usually sunning themselves here on this grassy bank. Today, not so much. It's just the beauty of these cameras. You don't really know what you're going to be seeing or finding. There we've got a moorhen, the black bird in the center of the screen. Looks like a sandpiper, sort of between the two black-winged stilts there, moving across. Quite a few moorhens actually. And a great view of that spurring goose in the foreground, just upper middle on the far left-hand side. Lots of activity around this pan. Yeah, you can see far into the distance across this fairly large body of water. This would be a great source of water for the local population of animals, and of course, with it being such a healthy population of aquatic birds, it's a permanent source of water. So I don't expect this pan to be drying up this winter, which is a good thing. These black-winged stilts frantically searching for food. The moorhens doing their thing. And what looks to be a sandpiper sort of right of center. So many birds. There's a duck that's just sort of stood up there right of center. I'm just going to the top of the screen. Here we're looking at these moorhens. Here's the crocodile.
Do you love relaxing at a waterhole with the sights and sounds of Africa all around you? Well, we have some really exciting news for you. From August 1st, Africam is joining forces with WildEarth to bring the majesty of Africa right into your living room with 9 incredible new waterhole cameras from across South Africa and Kenya. Get ready to embark on a new journey. This is Live at the Waterhole.
That being said, the fact that this crocodile would be able to take down a small wildebeest doesn't necessarily mean that it will be taking down small wildebeest. Crocodiles, through the course of their lives, change the predominant diets that they have. When they're born and come out of the eggs, um, they're predominantly just eating insects and very small fish and amphibians. As they get a little bit larger, they lose the ability to effectively catch insects and start to feed on fish mainly, and that'll be for a number. And then they'll get to a size where catching fish is not really that possible, and so it will transition over into mammals, and eventually they will be exclusively only feeding on carrion and larger mammals when they're really truly giants. This crocodile would most likely still be in its fish eating phase. There's a way to decide exactly what it is. I mean, scientists have figured out that, or biologists have figured out the sort of head length to body length ratio that crocodiles eat their prey at. And so I remember seeing it years ago. I can't remember exactly what the um, snout to the back of the head versus the length of the body, so snout to the end of the tail. There's a ratio there, and that ratio will determine what food source is most prevalent for, or that the crocodile will be eating most prevalently. This crocodile just looks like it's a fish eating crocodile, and so will most likely just be feeding on catfish. Sharp tooth catfish being the most common catfish in these waters. Gosh, there are a lot of moorhens. The black bird with a white face that you see in pretty much in any quadrant that you're looking at. So nice being able to see some green in what is otherwise a pretty grey environment. And for those of you who have been watching and will be watching this show going through the seasons, this is about as grey as it gets. It's not grey in this particular shot, obviously, because the water is feeding this grass, but the rest of the bush all over the place is mainly grey. Then we have some zebra that have come down to drink. And sort of September, October being the grey times of the year, and then January, February being the green times of the year, where you'd battle to find the color grey anywhere. You got this moorhen tending its feathers. Birds spend a massive amount of their time preening their feathers, and feathers being vitally important, not just for their own insulation, and that this moorhen lives in a cool, wet environment and needs to stay dry and warm. Gosh, that wildebeest was jumpy there. Probably saw its face in the water. Lots of wildebeest. Such a cool sight. And there you can see the grey that I was talking about in the hills in the distance. That is the color of the bush around at the moment. Grey and tan, bare sand and rocks. Not much to eat out there, particularly for these two species. They are grass feeders, and not going to find much of that around. I mean, apart from the grass in the foreground here. But out there in the bush, dry and hard. You'll also notice that these wildebeest are not walking into the water like we see animals do at Okakweo and Etosha, where they walk sometimes chest deep into the water without a concern. And that's because these water bodies in this area have crocodiles in, and so these wildebeest will be naturally fearful of bodies of water, which is a good thing. So although this youngster has waded in hock deep to get away from the mud, you'll notice that the adults are a lot more conservative, drinking quickly and moving on. We've all seen those incredible pictures of crocodiles absolutely smashing wildebeest and zebra up in Kenya on the Masai Mara, well, on the Mara rivers and on the Grimeti rivers. I don't think it's likely that we'd see one of these 5 crocodile in this particular pan taking out a wildebeest, but it is always a good idea to keep an eye on it. There could be lion in the area and they wait for the wildebeest heads to be down drinking and then sneak up from behind and chase them. Such a quintessentially African shot, that with his wildebeest and zebra in the picture at a pan. We don't use the words dam or pond very much in the sort of African wilderness context. We normally say pan or, gosh, what do we say? Suppose in a river where there's some sort of barrier, we'd say dam. Mainly it's just a pan. There's some guinea fowl that have come in the background there. So for those of you keeping bird lists, that's the helmeted guinea fowl, as opposed to the crested guinea fowl, and characterized by a big horny protrusion on the top of their heads, as opposed to a big curly hairdo that the crested guinea fowl have. There in the background we can see the fringes of this pan, and it's therein that you're most likely going to get your predators lying up. They'd be lying up in the shade underneath the bushes. Not really this time of the year. It's still a bit early for lioness and adolescents to rush animals around the pan during daylight hours. Wind blowing up the dust. Not uncommon, but not usual. Definitely as we start going into and through October, I'm hopeful that we're going to be seeing some or other type of breed activity around one or two of the pans. I see that the weather forecast is set to change for Madikwe, so for those of you who have got the Live at the Waterhole show planned for the rest of the week, we are expecting the winds to pick up, and with it will come some cloud, and there is even a small chance of rain, which will most likely be frontal rain, to be honest with you. So rain associated with air that lifts up and condenses over a cold mass of air that comes inland from the southern oceans. We don't really get convection rain, which is your big cumulonimbus clouds, or the major cause of cumulonimbus clouds in this area in summertime. And of course, they're associated weather patterns. And although there's lines of hills in the background in Madikwe, we don't get orthographic rain, which is when air is forced up and over a mountain, for instance. And as it rises, it condenses and rains on the one side of the mountain and then leaves it dry on the other side. So we don't really get that here. In fact, I don't think we get that anywhere we've got camera locations. But so the two different types of rain that we have are frontal rain, and the one is caused by convection or rising bodies of moist, warm air. Frontal rain being more associated with this time of the year, winter, in this area, with convection being a summertime phenomenon.
Chatting around a fire is an ancient practice that has connected humanity for centuries, and we want to keep it alive in our modern age. As an explorer, you'll have access to intimate gatherings with our naturalists, fascinating guests, and experts where we share knowledge, insights, and stories around a crackling fire. Rediscover the power of connection. Sign up to be an explorer today and experience the magic of WildEarth's Fireside Chats.
So, for those of you who watched the World Cup soccer in South Africa a few years ago, there was a phenomenon there where the South Africans were blowing a thing called a vuvuzela, and the original vuvuzela was made from the horn of the kudu. So that antelope with the spiral horns on the left-hand side, you can, when the animal's dead, of course, you can remove that outer casing from its bony core, and it leaves you with a spirally shaped tube. And then on the skinny side, they make an incision into the tube, and then you blow air through it, and it resonates. And it resonates very loudly, obviously. The tube amplifies the sound. And they made these plastic versions. And it was an unbelievable cacophony. So during the month of that World Cup here in South Africa, it was just relentless. And was sort of the hallmark of the soccer World Cup or football World Cup. And you're looking at the animal where it all started. Right. So let's give this Tau Lodge cam a chance to reset and go and have a look at a camera we haven't been yet today, and that's at Campus. So here we've come south a couple of 100 kilometers, close to a very important town called Kimberley, and this is an important body of water because it forms a protected area for the lesser flamingo. So we're looking at some lesser flamingos. Those are the pinkish white birds, the tall pinkish white birds that you're looking at in the center of the screen. There's a very small flock of them. But this particular pan is one of their pans that they frequent and has been protected by the owners of this particular piece of land. And we are lucky enough, African is lucky enough to have a camera up here, and we are lucky enough to be in partnership with African, and therefore can share this wonderful picture. Kimberley being important or noteworthy, I suppose, is the better word, in that it's the home of one of the largest man-made holes in the world. There's a kimberlite type of volcanic rock that extrudes into the Earth's crust from far below the Earth's surface and contains diamonds. And diamonds were found here many decades ago, and it was a bit of a rush. And they dug this enormous hole. Like, it's truly just mind-blowing what human endeavor can do. This is on this. Kimberley is situated on the inland plateau in South Africa, which does receive a lot more water than, say, Naledi Pan, which we were at a little bit earlier, so almost 3 times as much rain generally. And they have these wetlands that occur all over the place. And these wetlands are home to an abundance of different algae and bacteria, and of course, all the animals that feed on. So the food web is unique and quite special because of the high rainfall and its geographic location. And of course, the animals that are supported by that food web are nonetheless just as special. And the lesser flamingos are of the most special of them, only because their numbers are dwindling. Human activity has impacted. It's a moorhen, very similar to them. The birds that were like the cow. The moorhen is quite big. You've been watching it going upside down and feeding on grass. The herbivores. Well done, Mr. Moran. Let me tell you, it's not easy working these webcams, and so whoever our Zoomy is that's controlling, I just want to say well done. That was a great job. Very smooth. So you got those lesser flamingos. They predominantly feed on bacteria and algae that they filter out of the water with their beaks that contain a special comb or filter. And you can see that quite unique shape to the beak. That very flamingo-esque profile. And of course also impart a pink hue to the bird. So when they lift open their wings and you're watching them preen, you'll notice that they've got a beautiful pink color. Okay. Gosh, there are a lot of moorhens around today. So these flamingos come and go. They're really difficult to predict. Their movements are really difficult to predict. They will come and go singularly and in flocks and in pairs. They'll travel anywhere from the pan next door to many hundreds of kilometers away, and usually at night time. And so when the sun comes up here, you don't really know what you're going to be seeing, whether you see the same flamingo or different ones, whether you're going to be seeing a couple of hundred or a couple of dozen or none. And there doesn't seem to be any, well, there's a randomness to their movements. They do get preyed upon. It's not just habitat destruction causing their numbers to, well, habitat destruction is what's causing their numbers to reduce to a point where they become noteworthy for conservation efforts. But natural predators include things like fish eagles, who will quite often take out flamingos. So cool to see, actually. See what the temperature is doing here. There's a relatively cool day in Madikwe, and we're expecting the wind to pick up and for it to become overcast. The wind doesn't look like it's blowing nearly as hard here, which is a couple of hundred kilometers south, not much further than that. But let me have a look and see what the weather's doing right now. Yeah, a few degrees warmer and no bad weather predicted. So it's only increasing in temperature over the next couple of days. So it shows you just how localized these weather patterns can be. There's a little bit of rain predicted next Monday. Oh look, there's actually more flamingos than we gave credit for. Goodness me. Also another couple of dozen moorhens. Gosh. It's actually so cool to see. You don't even really need to talk much. It's just nice to look at these birds doing their thing. The moorhens obviously ducking upside down. Quite waterproof with their oily coating on their feathers and buoyant, and so a bit of a fight to get down. You'll see that they turn themselves upside down and have to kick downwards. The flamingo's not having much of the same issue because they just are also waterproof but have a long neck and long legs. enabling them to get to the mud and the sediment at the bottom of the pan so that they can filter out their food. To left actually with the pan. We are the high felt, very high bushland, and it's because it sits at a relatively high altitude, comparatively speaking, to the low felt, where the Kruger National Park is. And we're looking at Kimberley sitting at roughly a kilometer into the sky above sea level, 1,100 meters. Whereas in the Kruger National Park, where they're roughly 400 meters above sea level, going down to 220 in some areas. With Johannesburg being at around about 1,800, almost 2 kilometers up into the sky. This one flamingos there flickering upside down. I didn't actually see them. Look at that. Obviously just utilizing some deeper sections and showing us that them and the moorhens are more similar than what we give them credit. Big fun. They got sunburn on their butt cheeks. Interesting is the fact that they're not taking a lot of breaths. Notice that one on the left there. He's spending 3 times longer under the water, 3-4 times longer under the water than what he's spending above the water. I don't know, stop right there where I am, but I mean, if you retake that dude, he's probably spending 20 to 30 seconds, no, less than 15 to 20 seconds breathing out of every minute. I don't know where you're sitting today, but you try and do that. And you'll quickly see that what they're doing is incredible.
Are you WildEarth's biggest fan? Well, we have a brand new competition for you. Join our naturalists on Safari Live and listen out for weekly questions. To enter the competition, head over to our Instagram, search #WildEarthFanOfTheMonth and comment your answer under the post. The monthly winner will be determined by the total quickest and most correct answers. We announce our winner at the end of every month. Tune in to Safari Live daily.
Such a great view there of this Campus Dam and its associated population of lesser flamingo and, to a certain degree, quite profound population of moorhen, which is what we're looking at mostly there. That type of savanna that you're having a look at in the background there is very typical of this particular area. Really thorny plains of grass. There you can see we're relatively close to Kimberley. This particular town has dramatic effect, positive effect on this particular dam. The dam itself is about 500 hectares in extent, and was once an ephemeral pan, so it used to just come and go with the seasons depending on how wet or dry the years were. But as Kimberley has grown over the years, the dam itself has become more permanent because the stormwater runoff from the town enters the dam, as well as the dam forming part of the town's wastewater treatment program. So those reeds are testimony to that. There has been a significant increase in bacteria and diatoms because of the wastewater that goes into the dam, and that of course supports a significant population of birds, the most noticeable of them being the lesser flamingo. There's only about 80,000 of the birds left in the world, and we're looking at a significant portion of those birds occurring here. And so quite an important pan. You can see a railway line in the background. There's a tar road in the background there. There's a vehicle on it, that's how I know. And so this dam is sort of right up in the main town and being conserved for these birds by the owners of the piece of land, which is a really great thing. In addition to the flamingos, there's a couple of birds here that are quite special. So they've counted 63 species of bird at the pan itself, and the area is host to about 243 birds. With the highest number of water birds counted at 84,900 birds in 2006, of which 81,600 were lesser flamingos. Gosh, it's crazy. African marsh harrier and chestnut-banded plover are also occurring here, which are relatively rare birds to see, to be honest. And then occasionally, the dam itself holds large numbers of black-necked grebe and the South African shell duck, which is quite nice as well. Very importantly for the flamingos that we're having a look at is that there's a man-made breeding island that was built in the area in 2006, and Campus Dam became the first breeding locality in South Africa and only the fourth breeding locality in Africa and the sixth in the world for the lesser flamingo. So a very important place. It's threatened with the usual things that threaten these bodies of water close to developing towns, and that the expansion of people into these areas affects runoff and pollution, and therefore feed and breeding sites for the birds themselves. But there's a significant movement to want to conserve these birds, and as that statistic I've just read out to you highlights, this is the only breeding site for the lesser flamingo in South Africa, and one of 7 in the world. So, important. Because the dam itself is fed by floodwaters or stormwater drainage out of the expansion of the town, the water levels can actually increase here quite dramatically, which of course then are not that good for breeding sites on the edge of the pan for some of the birds that breed out here. But then on the other hand, the pan is not permanent because of the water. And so I suppose, these compromises that we continually have to make. quite an amazing statistic that if you think about it, the fact that there's can be up to 80,000 of these birds at this pan. I, for one, am looking forward to seeing even just a portion of that. So I suppose the name of the game is a bit of patience. This is now we've come a couple of hundred kilometers further east towards the Kruger National Park, or Greater Kruger National Park. And we have a breeding herd of elephant that have come out to this pan. And it looks like they've been here for a bit. Some of the guys are muddy, so I'm assuming they've been here for a little bit. And what we can hope for is that some of them go for a swim in a mud bath. Really quite nice. I just love the fact that these cameras are so unobtrusive that they don't impact the behavior of these animals whatsoever, and that we can go from one area to another and have virtually no impact on them at all.
Do you want to touch the lives of future protectors of our Earth? Thanks to our wonderful WildEarth explorers, WildEarth Kids is back. Sign your class up for WildEarth schools and enjoy a special virtual field trip to Africa with interactive learning tailored for kids.
Very warm welcome to the kids from WildEarth Primary School.
We'll be dedicating the first hour of sunset safaris every Wednesday to our planet's future defenders. WildEarth, it's in your nature.
And you can see left of center that youngster kicking his back legs with his back leg. He did a profound itch there that he decided that his back foot was the best thing to use. He said he's on a variety of different poses. There's a hammerkop bird on the right, just leaving the screen. For those birders of you keeping bird lists, you can see that some of these elephants are having a mud bath while others are just standing around. You have to actually say exactly what they're doing. They're not drinking, they're not mud bathing. The one in the middle is having a drink. They'll splash themselves. The feeling is that they're going to be moving on pretty soon. At this time of the year, elephants will spend anywhere up to 20 hours a day feeding, get enough plant material into their bellies to keep themselves fed. They won't be hanging around here too much. It's a great view of the bush. There's a coral camp in the background. This particular camp is situated very close to the Kruger National Park's boundary. And so the chance of elephant coming out of the park, which haven't been close to people in a number of weeks possibly, is quite high. Sabi Sand is a place that has a threefold increase in elephant in the dry season, only because of the Sand River, the important water source for elephant in particular, and the source of food. These elephants are within an easy sort of couple-hour walk to the Sand River. And little LZ, you have sent in a comment, and you said that you are super excited about Ellie's because they boost your mood every time. Definitely do. The elephant, baboons, what else is good for morale? Hyena, wild dog. They have the ability to boost mood. Always busy doing something, and usually something quite mischievous. Honey badger, another one, just like elephant. Always active in doing something. But it also allows me to remind all of you out there that it is an interactive show. And of course, if you haven't cottoned on just yet, it's live. So we're looking at this as it's happening. It's 11:46 in the morning at this particular location. This virtual starling that you see here is making the most of the disturbance the elephants are creating. Are picking off the insects that are flying out of the grass. The proximity to the elephant. This is an average-sized herd for the Kruger. You're looking at between sort of 6 and 12 individuals. Every now and again, you'll get conglomerations of up to 100 elephants, maybe a little bit more, but it's fairly rare. Circumstances and situations, just a couple of times a year allow for that. In general, though, this is the size of the herd that you'd see, all led by the oldest female, the matriarch. Males, adult bulls will be mostly on their own or in these loose associations with bachelor birds. And then it's just adolescent elephant, bulls at least. Here we can watch this virtual starling. They're quite precocious, and so I'm hanging around here just picking off the insects that the elephants have disturbed. I have a pair of virtual starling that live in my yard, and we sit often, my partner and I, and listen to them having a full-on chat. They're very noisy. There's matriarch who decided that's it. Drink done, let's go. So you can see how everyone just sort of leaves what they're doing. Every now and again you'll get a young bull, sort of like a recalcitrant teenager that sticks around for a little bit, unwilling to conform to mom's instruction. And pretty much just like that, we've got a supply truck in the background. What happens? How tourists in this area are fed, the vehicles are kept full of fuel, and maintained, and the lodge is maintained. What is interesting is this particular pan. It's obviously a pumped pan because of where you'll notice where these elephants are drinking is a well, and the water is bubbling up from a pipe that's situated in a brick square. The reason for that is that elephants really do enjoy drinking clean water when they can, and often they'll dig up pipes. And the reason there's a pumped pan here is because even though the Kruger National Park is the largest national park in South Africa and one of the largest national parks in the world, at way over 1 million hectares, 2 million hectares, um, the animals are still fragmented from seasonal migrations, and so artificial water points do need to be maintained. Also spreads out the impact on the vegetation around permanent water points, like the Sand River, for instance, in this area. Not enjoying the proximity of that bird.
Are you looking to take your bond with the wild to the next level? Download our app and access in-depth chats with our naturalists and special guests. Connect and converse in real time on our Ask Me Anythings, fireside chats, hangouts, and town halls. WeChat, available on the WildEarth app. WildEarth, we are Safari.
You can see these elephants are busy drinking from the fresher water around that seep. And then you've got some others who are hanging around with their moms trying to get a drink, like this one here. They're trying desperately to just get mom to stand still and offer up a mammary gland. This one is probably close to being weaned. A little more husks that I noticed when he lifted up, or she lifted up with them. Close to a year old, this little baby at the moment. We still have some time to go before fully weaned. And so, yeah, mom needs to play with. Yep. So these ellies just standing around. I thought that they were actually on their move a little bit ago, but they're not. They just made space for another set of elephant to come and drink from the fresh water. And this female moved off and is now nursing her baby. Relatively unsuccessfully. If I look at the body language of the baby, and too much irritation from her mother. Actually, not much irritation. If she was really irritated, she'd close her leg back and swat at the baby with her tongue. You've got these ones sniffing at the camera. A very inquisitive elephant. Highly intelligent. I read a report once that pegged the intelligence of an elephant at around a 16-year-old. A 16-year-old human, that is. With a great memory, super sense of smell, great hearing, incredible social bonds. Some biting fly bothering this elephant. It's the second or third time I've noticed her having quite a reaction to something on her skin. Usually it's typical of one of the hippo flies, a large species of biting fly here, kissing the skin and trying to grab a suck of blood. I don't actually know if hippo flies do feed on elephant blood. But elephant skin is really thick, and so it would take a fairly large suck to pierce the skin. It's been quite wasteful with the water. He's finished drinking, obviously, and is now just wetting her head and playing with it. All right, let's leave these ellies to their thing. Let's go back up to Madekwe's cow lodge. Right, so this is now Madikwe, come a couple of 100 kilometers away to see a waterbuck. This is a bull waterbuck, magnificent bull waterbuck. We have a grey heron on the left-hand side and some white-faced duck in the foreground. Great picture. But waterbuck is busy eating some grass, as its name would imply. They are associated with water bodies. Making the most of some water grass that's busy growing here. Really great bull, that. Fully mature, full grown, parallel horn tips. The last sort of 5 centimeters to 2-3 inches of the horn tips. If they were pointing toward each other, it would be immature bull pointing away from each other, a bull past prime, but a bull that's horn tips are parallel to one another is a prime bull, and you can see that he is in great condition. Fairly large, they weigh around 500 pounds, 250 kilograms, about as big as a bull. Wildebeest, full grown kudu, full grown zebra, they're all in the sort of same weight category, plus minus. Relatively aggressive, precocious things, these waterbuck. Very confident. That's an impala in the background that you're looking at there, with a two-tone reddish tan skin. And this great zoom that we have on this camera is allowing us to get right up close to this waterbuck and watch what he's busy doing. He's obviously looking for some grass to eat. Very similar to the wildebeest and the zebra. They're grass eaters. Kudu being different, they are browsers. They browse leaves and twigs. This is a live and interactive show, and if you want to ask me a question or send in your comments about what we've been having a look at today, you're welcome to do so. You just need to go and register on the WildEarth website, and then I'd love to hear from you. My name is Stefan Winterboer, for those of you who have not heard it in a while, and we've only got about a half an hour of today's show left. Time has absolutely flown. We've been all over today, from Kenya to Madikwe to the Greater Kruger to Kimberley, and we've seen a variety of different animals. This one being a fully mature waterbuck bull, who's having a bit of a problem trying to negotiate that stump, mainly because of the mud. They don't want to get stuck. And the fear of crocodile would be another driving force. Let's see where he goes. You can see a rather profound white ring on their rears. That's the trait of the common waterbuck in South Africa. And then sort of, as you go up in Africa, you get the Difasa waterbuck, which has a more washed out ring, but very similar. And wildebeest top left, impala. I have no doubt that we'd found some Some guinea fowl up in the top left, sort of center. There's some weaver's nests from last season in this tree above the impala. Great to see when summer comes back what weavers they actually are. You can actually identify what type of weaver builds what nests based on its shape. I am not that good. It's one of those things that you sort of lose as the seasons change. So by the end of summer, you can identify any number of things, and then you lose the skill as you don't practice it. Your head gets filled with other facts and figures. Very similar to that waterbuck's white circle on his bum. The impala has those 3 black stripes on tail. They are following mechanisms, so they accentuate that particular area, and usually for members of the same species or babies to follow through the bush. And to a degree, almost every single animal out here has something like that. Some are white blazes, others are black stripes like this, or white circles, others are tufted, but all hallmarked by being contrasting colors on areas of the body that have high movement. There you can see those weaver's nests, which are baskets of grass woven by male weaver birds with an entrance tunnel below and a sac-like cavity on the inside. The tops are very densely woven and waterproof, whereas the bottom are less so, provide ventilation for the eggs. And the males build these nests in summertime. The females then come and inspect the nests, and if they don't like it, they rip the nests to pieces. And the male then has to start again. There's that waterbuck. He's now made his way into what is arguably one of the best mud pools that we have a camera at. We often see elephants swimming in here, almost completely submerging themselves. So it's very deep, that water. This waterbuck will risk getting stuck.
Do you know what it takes to protect and empower rhinos? On the 22nd of September, WildEarth is hosting a fireside chat in celebration of World Rhino Day. A special guest from Rhino Revolution will join us as we pay tribute to these extraordinary creatures and talk all things rhino, from horn trimming to rewilding. Don't miss out on the fun. WildEarth, it's in your nature.
So there, top left, you'll notice there's some kudu that have come into the shot. There you got a herd of kudu there. Another beautiful male, this time with both horns intact. That elephant is still there in front of his female. You can see the female kudu coming into shot now. Just above her head now is that elephant. Wow, a great bachelor herd of kudu. And so I'm going to say that the kudu probably disturbed the waterbuck. He was coming through the bush and thought there were other males. And so he sort of went from alert, curious to indifferent but still moving. Once he figured out that they weren't waterbuck but were indeed kudu, and therefore no real threat to him. That bachelor herd of kudu is going to come and drink, which is going to be quite spectacular because they look like to be magnificently horned. And so they're all going to probably come onto that beach following this male. Gosh, today's been a day for bull kudu. Actually quite hard to see, to be honest with you. And yet today, pretty much throughout the show, we've had kudu. We might go a couple of days, even a couple of weeks without seeing them again. Male impala coming in behind the waterbuck, and then some warthog sort of just above center screen. Some female kudu coming in with some younger bulls. There the bulls are coming down to drink. Really nice to see. Nice shot of general game, as we call it. You got a waterbuck, male impala, a variety of kudu, and some wildebeest in the background with an elephant in the far distance. Some spur-wing geese, some Egyptian geese, a few black-wing stilts, and blacksmith lapwing filling in the gaps. Great view. That's a young kudu on the far left with horns that look very similar to an impala. And then these ones without their deep curls. So you can see that these male kudu don't have big horns, not deep curls. I'll take that back. This one on the left-hand side is quite big, and so is the one on the right. So my mistake. These are actually full-grown bull kudu. Distance is misleading. That's a young bull kudu there. Well done to the cameraman or camera person. It's not easy getting these webcams to do what you want them to do. Let's have a look at those horns. Gosh. Looking at a big kudu having horns that are roughly 60 inches. Sometimes a little bit less, sometimes a little bit more. But a 60-inch kudu bull is, and I mean 60 inches is a massive amount of length to be carrying around on your head. Especially when you eat leaves and twigs, it means that you are can be quite restricted in your movement. In fact, there's an African folklore that suggests kudu were punished with those curly horns due to vanity, that he wanted to be the most beautiful of all the, or the most magnificent of all the African antelope, and was punished as a result for his vanity with a set of corkscrew horns that need to be managed. This waterbuck showing great confidence, just wading into the water, having the grass to eat. Very similar to much earlier on in the show where we had a warthog female that, something scared them. This time of the year, you can get anything around these pans. Lion rushing out, hyena rushing in. Doesn't seem to be anything too life-threatening. And kudu and impala right back to what they were doing. Yeah, that wildebeest, they also stood up. Something did happen. Out of shot. But nothing to keep them from doing what they were doing. A great view, actually. Give you an idea of how big that spur-winged goose actually is. The goose is further away from us than the waterbuck and is a significant size. If you have a look at the big waterbuck, which is, you know that he's weighing in 150 kilograms. Give you an idea of how big that goose actually looks. We'll provide you with some context as to how big those kudu horns actually are, because that kudu is a very far distance away from the waterbuck. And these horns look far bigger, even at this distance.
WildEarth is home to Africa's endangered unicorn. We aim to inspire the protection of our rhinos by connecting people to them.
I am here with a beautiful female rhino and her calf.
Join our naturalists as we track our favorite rhinos on safari.
Hello, big boy.
Watch it live and join the rush this Rhino Day with WildEarth.
It's a cool thing being able to watch these animals do what they're doing with the zoom lens on South African Tau Lodge Cam. Tau having one of the largest water bodies that we know of in the area. It's not the largest, but it is one of the biggest. And of course, permanent water attracts a large amount of animals, and today's been no exception. We've seen this kudu now, greater kudu, walking off into the bush. His horns quite starkly silhouetted against the grey backdrop. It was a great view in fact. Nice view. An elephant there somewhere as well. Yeah, these two kudu, they wouldn't be in a structured herd or permanent herd with one another. It's called a bachelor herd, hanging around with each other more for companionship and protection, more than it would have been, say, for those elephant that we were looking at a little bit earlier, which is a structured herd, or even the wildebeest, which these kudu are sharing this pan with. They live in a structured herd, similar to buffalo or impala. So these kudu will be with each other most of the time for a while, and then will break apart and may or may not rejoin with one another again, or may join with others as well. So sharing a common interest binds them together for a bit. They're making their way away from this pan, leaving us with wildebeest, the waterbuck, the springbuck, impala, some warthog, guinea fowl, and a variety of different aquatic birds. There's the elephant there. The back kudu above him now. Yeah. Who knows what else is lying up in those hills? It's a mystery. Often you find brown ahina. There goes the rest of the herd of kudu. The females are those youngsters. As I was saying, often you find brown hyena coming out of the hills at night time. They're nocturnal. Onto the plains at night time. Plains being frequented by spotted hyena. A shot of what is quintessentially sort of the Tau, African Tau cam. Some antelope with a lot of aquatic birds. Starting sort of on the right hand side, we've got white-faced duck, grey heron in the center, left of center, Egyptian geese. Can't see anything else at this point, but there are lots of different birds around. Not a lot of time left in today's show. It is absolutely flown, I must be honest with you. I can't believe that we've already come to the end of it. So just want to say thank you to you all. Thanks for all your comments and questions, and for all of you that joined today for the first time. It's great to have you on board. Welcome to the family. And for all of for the rest of the long-term viewers, thank you for your support. The more eyeballs we have on the screen, the better. And it's been an absolute honor and pleasure to host today's experience. It's been a great day. We've had a lot of different things. We've jumped around from camera to camera, which is great, and had action with almost every single one of them, including lots of elephant, lots of general game, huge examples of greater kudu and waterbuck, big impala. We had some baboons for a while. And a really nice day. Even a crocodile for a little bit. So I want to say thank you to the crew. Thank you to all our partners. Thank you to every one of you that makes a difference in today's show and makes the show like today possible. So thank you for that. And I'll be on the show again tomorrow. So looking forward to hosting you then. And so from my side, at least, for the rest of the day, wherever you are, have a safe day. And we'll catch up with you tomorrow again. All the best and ciao for now.